welcome everybody to this all speaker series. I am Fleet Captain Barb Barton. I'm the Director of Sciences Auxiliary. As you know, drinking fountains are down the hall and to the left, bathrooms are on the right. And I'm really super excited today for our guest speaker, Professor Norb Vance. He's the director of the Scherzer Observatory at Eastern Michigan University here in central Michigan. Or I guess that would be southeast Michigan.
Southeast.
Southeast Michigan. Um, I've seen his photography before, and you are absolutely in for a treat today. Uh, Norb, he's a member of the faculty of Eastern Michigan University. He's also the scientific instrumentation specialist for the physics and astronomy department. He's an excellent teacher. He's absolutely hilarious when you get to know him, and even before then. And he is also, I guess you'd say, one of the organizers, right, for the Fish Lake. Is that Fish Lake Astronomy Geeks, which is where you are right now at a star party?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and a super fan of Star Trek. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Norm, and welcome to the Cell Speaker Series.
well, thank you, Barb. And greetings, everyone. I've been at this for quite a while. Uh, how this came about is a mystery to me. In fact, to paraphrase, no fact, extrapolation of fact or theory would explain or make possible what is happening here, but uh, it is what it is. So we'll speak no further of it, to quote Sarek and Spock. But anyways, I've got some pretty pictures to share with you. We're going to proceed along at a pretty good clip here because I've got quite a few of them. So if I can go into the screen share mode and take you on a little tour of the night sky via a couple of different locations, one from Chile and then just from a few nights ago here in southeast Michigan in the thumb of Michigan, which is where I'm at now. So without further ado, Barb, I'm going to switch to the screen share
All right, sounds good.
and break into some images that I have in a PowerPoint that I'll zip through. And let's see if we're in phase here. How's that looking?
Absolutely perfect.
Okay, great. So basically, all decks prepare for hyperdrive, to quote another famous gentleman. But Barb asked me to share some pictures with you folks about a trek I made to Cerro Tololo Inter-American Observatory in the Chilean Andes a couple of summers ago to check out the health of a University of Michigan telescope. Our neighbors next door to us at Eastern Michigan is U of M. And I volunteered myself to go down to see the southern skies. And if you've not seen them, I implore you, and the point of this whole presentation is to get down and see them because you'll feel like you're on an alien planet. If you're familiar with the northern hemisphere skies and then suddenly plunge yourself into the southern skies, anything you do recognize in the northern sky will be upside down, and most everything in the southern sky will be unfamiliar with you unless you have a planetarium like I operate to at least practice on which stars you would eventually see at what times and where you're at in locations. Here I was 30 degrees south of the equator in outside of a village called La Serena, Chile, and up on a mountaintop about 7,900 feet up. And these are the views looking at the Magellanic Clouds and the starrier than forever sky with just over this 4 meter telescope dome, the Blanco Dome, as it's called, the coal sack of the Milky Way hanging out there. So let's proceed and see what we're going to see. But first, a little stop about my digs. You can see our science building and the sphere, which is our planetarium in the adjacent building that Strong Hall is attached to. So I teach out of Strong Hall on our Ypsilanti campus and have access to our observatory. I actually run the observatory and the planetarium. things that I never dreamed I would do growing up in suburban Detroit. And here is our planetarium. So, talk about a spaceship. This physically exists, and within is a projector system that we can go anywhere in the solar system and out into the galaxy using the projector system. So it's a fun toy, but it's our teaching tool. We teach the students how to find their way around the universe and explain concepts and ideas. It's a 30-foot diameter sphere that holds 37 people. And down below is a rock garden with Michigan glacial rocks 4 stories below. So you walk in the building, look up, here's this sphere that you sit in. So it's a kind of a spaceship. So again, there's our sphere in the atrium from across campus. And it sells itself. Students are always tugging on the door, wanting to know what's in there. Now, I gladly open it up and take them for a space trip using this central projector system and 4K screens and all kinds of computer technology to play with to run full dome videos, project the constellations. We have at least 3 dozen different cultural ways of expressing the same star patterns in the sky. But like I said, we can literally lock onto any of the stars you see here and zoom off to them and get a view of space from those perspectives. I personally have taught probably half the courses we offer as our minor at EMU, and in particular, I do 15 320 courses for a program. And here you can see our observatory dome, and unfortunately, there's lights and our buildings nearby that project a lot of light on are in the city, but we do the best we can. If you want a good book or don't have this one, I urge you to get it, called Night Watch, the fifth edition. I actually use it as a textbook for our observational astronomy class, and it'll walk you through the basics of astronomy and even into the more complex aspects. But it's a great book by the late Terence Dickinson and Ken Hewitt White. Here's our observatory. It dates back a century, although it suffered a major fire in 1989, so I was involved in the rebuild and the re-instrumentation of it on campus, and students can stand here 100 feet above the lights looking up into the night sky from the observing deck and get a commanding view of the campus. And it's also quite beautiful this time of year with the change of fall colors. So here's again, our observatory deck, some drone views of where we're at in Ypsilanti, Michigan. So quite a nice place to hang out. We have quite a few observing sessions and so forth. But Barb mentioned I'm at our biology center, and this is near Lapeer, Michigan. It's called the Fish Lake Environmental Center, 240 acres out in the woods of Michigan, with nice ponds and bogs, glacial features, and the students love it here. They're out on a hike right now, but I've got to chit chat real quick because we're going to launch some big rockets in about an hour. So it should be fun. Here in Southeast Michigan and across the Northern Hemisphere, last year we've had quite a few auroral displays. We see them quite well here routinely in Michigan. Here's a few of them. My cohort, Kevin Daney, who's here with me this weekend, he's out doing the program right now. We witnessed some really good aurorae, and of course the solar eclipses that we've had the past few years here in the United States. But this was the study that I did with the 0.6 meter Curtis Schmidt telescope. Hebert Curtis was a noted astronomer at U of M a century ago, and if you look in astronomy books, you'll see his name quite prominently. The gentleman I work for is Dr. Seitzer. He needed us to be his eyes and ears and go down to the Chilean Tololo Observatory and do some homework for him. He is emeritus now. He's traveling a little less. So Brian Autumn and I, a cohort, went down to Chile to do this work. But a little bit of my background, here's a book I wrote when I was a manual, if you will, before those heady days of no internet. Here I am in January of '67 with my first telescope, Compliments of Santa Claus, with my uncle there in the picture. So that's me of all of 11 years old, getting ready to head off to this unknown career of astronomy by making HR diagrams and Messier catalogs and star charts. which I still retain in my brain today. So if you want to learn something, do it when you're young, because when you get to be my age now, things don't stick as much as they used to. But there were a lot of other inspirations back then. If you're a child of the 60s and early 70s, of course, you had the Apollo program. And yes, I tell these modern students, yes, we walked on the moon. And if you don't agree with that, then I splash water in their face and tell them, get a clue. My father was an automotive engineer at American Motors, so he was very supportive of this and a very loving mother that loved all the stuff that we used to do. We used to make Star Trek movies and build all kinds of things Star Trek, and so those are motivations. But believe it or not, don't boo and hiss too loud. I actually was more attuned to Lost in Space when it originally came out on TV, especially the first season Gray episodes, and had such a crush on Judy Robinson. Oh my God, I apologize about that, but and this guy, I just put my cursor right there in front of him so that we don't see him, because boy was he annoying. But I actually didn't catch hold of Star Trek until it basically came to an end in 1969 and went into syndication on our local UHF station. And I freely admit that I actually tied into the speaker output of our old black and white TV and used to audio tape the episodes. Lacking a VCR, a video cassette recorder, I actually taped the audio and so can speak script quite fluently. So that's my background with Star Trek, and I still carry it in my lexicon today. I'll unfortunately slip into a phrase here or there, quote Spock, or use big words like modicum or alacrity, thanks to his training. But here we have the Milky Way. Our sun is part of it. Our perspective is looking out into the outer arms, the Perseus arm, or the Sagittarius arm of the galaxy from our position here in the Orion Spur. And I call myself a tour guide of the galaxy. So I'll take students outside, show them where they're at, give them a realization that there's an up and down relative to the galaxy, in addition to the up and down we have here on the Earth. And so I quite understand where the Federation lies here in the grand scheme of things when talking about Star Trek and what Gene Roddenberry and company had in mind. But frankly, I prefer the concrete, the reality, and try to convey that as best I can when talking about where we're at in the Milky Way. So it's an important topic, in my opinion. It's one of the great discoveries in science to know where we're at in the real grand scheme of things in the galaxy. But unfortunately, we can't see much of it in the northern hemisphere, especially from Michigan. At our latitude, we're missing this whole quadrant of the galaxy. So I use quadrant in respect to this quarter of the sky that we cannot see from Michigan, which masks a good chunk of the Milky Way. And from the southern hemisphere, Chile, Argentina, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, those places, they are privy to having the center of the Milky Way, which you see pictured here, literally straight overhead on any given evening at some time, and get this spectacular view that we simply cannot get in the northern hemisphere. So if you have not experienced the southern hemisphere skies, find a place where you're not going to get bitten by a Mugatu or hauled off by Klingons or something to get a chance to see that. And finding a place in the southern hemisphere to do that is a bit of a challenge. My cohort Brian just recently returned from South Africa, where he was not allowed to go out of the compound lest he get eaten by a lion or something at night in order to enjoy the southern skies again. So we had this grand time in Chile. From Michigan, here in Michigan, this is the extent of the center of the galaxy that we see. The red X marks where we're at relative to the Milky Way. It never clears the southern horizon, and that would be true of Europe and other places in the northern hemisphere. You just cannot see the galaxy like this beyond the lower extent of the Milky Way that doesn't clear our southern horizon. But in Chile, it's a whole different thing. So here I go. I'm heading off to this magical place called Cerro Tololo, which means at the edge of the abyss. And what they mean by that is if you walk up to this railing, which I did along the side road accessing the observatories on the top of this summit, it drops off 3,000 feet, so deeper than the Grand Canyon over that side. And off in the distance are the rugged terrains of the desert Andes Mountains. Very dry place on Earth, an ideal spot to do astronomy. And the domes over here are referred to as the mushroom farm because a number of colleges and university operations are there. Even the Koreans have a dome sitting here alongside the main ones up on the summit. The big telescope is the 4-meter telescope, which has a twin telescope at Kitt Peak in southern Arizona. So it's a pretty neat place. And if you want a bit of a tour of this place, you can look at the 2D version online called Big Astronomy. So note Big Astronomy, look at the 2D version, but we show this in our dome theater in a 3D or full dome format, and it's absolutely beautiful to get a tour of the Chilean observatories via this video. So let's do a little quick tour. I flew down there in June of 2024. There's Cerro Tololo at the peak of this mountain. You can see how much it drops off with the Andes Mountains in the distance. And this is June, so it's winter, becoming winter down there, so you see snow at that time of year. And flighting involved going to Atlanta from Michigan all the way down to La Serena, and then spending an hour in another airplane back up to Santiago and then up to La Serena, where we overnighted at a dorm in the university there, and then were escorted up to the top of this mountain, which is quite inaccessible. They do not let anybody in necessarily. You have to have permission to get up there. And so here we are at the dorm with the domes further up in the peak and this little palm tree here outside my door looking up at the summit. So from my perspective down in the dorm, this is the domes that we see. And I would be working in the dome right here up on the summit. So they treated us well. The water is drinkable. They filter it heavily because they do not want sick astronomers up there. Very nice accommodations, sort of locked in the 1960s, and served fairly nice meals as part of our 10-day tour of the night sky. We encountered a fair number of clouds because it is winter there, and but comfortable enough. It did get cold at night, but we would be working inside this dome here with a 6-ton telescope that had been put in since 1966. And here Brian and I are admiring the weird flora that was existent on the mountain, what little there was, with our dome in the background. They drove us, we got a car to drive up to the summit. And in between our operations, we would have meals and enjoy the camaraderie with all the visiting astronomers and the staff that was there. But here's the Curtis Schmidt telescope. Here's Brian and I working with it. I like this picture because I'd been showing it in class for years, the black and white photos. This gentleman, John Graham, was an astronomer there in the 1960s, and he is sitting in this steel case chair underneath the telescope looking through a guide instrument, which I did years later. I tried to emulate that, and then the same steel case chair is still there, a little worse for wear. But what a wonderful experience to be able to sit in that same chair. John has long since passed, but here I am decades later at the base of this instrument. So it's quite a interesting piece of hardware. Designed at first to map the entire sky. We have a telescope that I'll show you in a moment that's doing a much better job, far surpassing what the Curtis Schmidt could do. But in its day, it was quite the instrument, but it still has some good functions. It's been used for surveying junk and debris in satellite debris in orbit. So it does have a purpose for doing that, despite the fact that the controls are somewhat antiquated, but still computer controlled. So you could sit here at this thing and drive it using computers and image certain areas of the sky looking for debris that's floating around in orbit. And we're unfortunately getting too much of that thanks to SpaceX and some of these other companies that are launching satellites willy-nilly without question. That's going to become a problem. It's already a problem. for imagers because you got satellite streaks all over the place in your images. So here we are at the summit. It finally did clear off. We did get some beautiful nights up there. Here's our dome off to the right, a naval observatory, and some other domes sitting there as well. And I, of course, had to take our EMU banner there to advertise the fact to the upper echelon that I did make it up there. But it is a magical place. The mist would float in. You'd look off the edge and just be mesmerized. Check out this view with a telescope that they leave permanently set up there so you can sort of look around the horizon. You don't have to put quarters in it either to make it work. But what a vista! Absolutely stunning views from the top of this mountain in Chile. Astronomers are lucky to have this kind of privilege to be able to see vistas like this and visit magical places high atop mountains where they get to do their work. And again, the reason for being up there is to be above as much as the earth as possible, the atmosphere, to see the steadiest and darkest and clearest skies. So these are the vistas that I enjoyed. Brian and I had a grand time, but we're anxious to get to the nighttime aspect of doing our work up there. Here again is more of the telescopes that are employed up at the summit and the dorm we stayed at. The little village of Acuna in the distance is about 5,000 feet below us, tucked into the foothills of the Andes. Pretty cool place. So here comes nighttime here. Brian and I were ready to get to some observing, and the 4-meter was doing some work as well with some folks that we chatted with along the way. So here's our Milky Way. These are the views we got. We took some time-lapse photos. Brian and I packed as much as we could in our luggage heading to Chile. And looking straight up overhead, this is the center of the Milky Way galaxy above us. Absolutely stunning view. And again, I implore you to get to the southern hemisphere if you don't or haven't done so. It's a bucket list item you should put there. The dust lanes of the galaxy were very evident. The core of the Milky Way, the taper of it was very obvious. And many of the objects we looked at were beautiful. Here is Omega Centauri, spectacular globular cluster. I have students' homework assignment is to count the number of stars in this view, but I tell them quickly that I'm just kidding. But it is like counting beans in a jelly bean jar. Again, the Magellanic Clouds were clearly visible, as were many of the nearby stars. For example, this star right here was the destination of the Jupiter 2 and Lost in Space. Good old Alpha Centauri was in view, and the Southern Cross and the Coal Sack, all kinds of magical features that you just never see from the Northern Hemisphere. And the Magellanic Clouds pretty much look like this. So this isn't some figment of photography here. This is the sky that you saw when you were standing there at the summit of Cerro Tololo. Unbelievable place. So again, here's Alpha Centauri, Beta Centauri, the Southern Cross, the Coal Sack, the Eta Carinae Nebula, all this visible, the dust lanes of the Milky Way, with the naked eye. There was no, I think I see it. No, it was beautiful, absolutely spectacular. And so Brian and I set about taking images while working on the telescope. We set cameras outside, and Brian took this time lapse on the right, so you'll get to see the rotation of the galaxy around the southern pole. It goes backwards compared to what we see in the northern hemisphere, where everything goes counterclockwise. In the southern hemisphere, the stars move clockwise, looking in the opposite direction of north. So here we go. Here's a time lapse of the dome and the Milky Way working its way around. You see the large Magellanic Cloud reappear from behind the 4-meter dome. The doors up there are open to allow cooling inside the dome to stabilize the temperatures inside. And then here's Milky Way rise, looking east. The stars rise in a different angle aspect to the horizon compared to the northern hemisphere. So here you see jets flying to Santiago. There's sky glow. That's a feature you rarely see. And zodiacal light, dust scattered across the plane of the solar system, is very apparent in dark skies like that. Absolutely beautiful. I'll run it one more time. So these time lapses are over the course of an hour or two, and it's pretty magical to watch the Milky Way rise from these kinds of locations. So here we go. There we are looking over the Curtis Schmidt Dome from the University of Michigan. Scorpius passes right overhead, as does Sagittarius, the so-called teapot in the center of the Milky Way galaxy is literally sitting right here, straight up over our heads. Absolutely magical. And I like this one because we had some clouds roll through, but during the process, the clouds tend to sort of fog the stars, so the colors tend to pop out. So here we go. We'll let this simulation run, and we'll let the clouds come in. The Eta Carinae Nebula dwarfs the Orion Nebula in Orion, so things, again, we cannot see from the northern hemisphere that you must and should see at some point in your lives. And I'm particularly fond of this one. This object right here looks like a star, but it's actually a huge globular cluster called 47 Tucanae, the second brightest one in the entire skies, right off the Small Magellanic Cloud. These clouds, by the way, are satellite galaxies to the Milky Way, sitting 149,000 to 250,000 light years in distance. Relative to our Milky Way galaxy. So here we go. Nice, again, clockwise rotation of the sky thanks to our viewing south rather than north. The moon appears upside down. This was the view looking outside my dorm door at the middle of the night. Oh my goodness, the stars were just absolutely stunning. If anyone recognizes any patterns in here, I'd be curious if you recognize any looking at this view looking north towards the Curtis Schmidt Dome. And I'll give you a second to see if you can recognize a pattern. I'll give you a clue here. Constellation Leo. It looks upside down. Stars that we're accustomed to seeing overhead appear low in the northern sky and barely clear that northern horizon. We do not see the Big Dipper from here. Maybe one or two stars of the Big Dipper are visible from 30 degrees south latitude. But this is, again, Leo, the sickle of Leo and its tail, constellation that's familiar to northern observers, upside down from our perspective there. And so I did us a favor by putting it right side up for the folks that are familiar with it in the northern hemisphere. You can see it here. But of course, the domes end up upside down. So, yes, the folks in the southern hemisphere are truly down under. So if there isn't any kind of clue that tells you that we're living on a sphere, I don't know what we can say, but there you have it. It's pretty amazing views. Again, looking north, absolutely stunning to see the stars that we're familiar with in the northern hemisphere skirting the northern horizon. And I've known people from the southern hemisphere, from Australia in particular, when they saw the Big Dipper for the first time, they were near tears. They had never seen it before. So stuff we take for granted in the northern skies are unfamiliar to them and vice versa. And by the way, don't say that it's upside down because, they of course have the right view of the sky. A few more pictures that Brian took of the Milky Way that we see spectacular views of dust lanes, all the dust and gas that occupies the plane of our galaxy. Overhead, the Eta Carinae Nebula is a huge ionized region of gas that dwarfs our Orion Nebula that we see routinely here in the north. There's the coal sack again, which stands out like a sore thumb in the southern sky. So pretty amazing views of the Milky Way from Cerro Tololo. So back to reality here. Here's our view out the dorm. We again spent probably 5 days looking at the night sky up there. And one mountain over was this new telescope that you may have heard about in the news or you've seen some of the preliminary images, the Vera Rubin telescope, which is one mountain over on Cerro Pachon in southern Chile, or in central Chile, I should say, with this monster telescope that's going to produce 20 terabytes of data per night. 20 terabytes. So they need AI to process the data, but its objective is to map the entire night sky once every 3 nights in various wavelengths. And it'll likely end up redefining our understanding of the visible universe, especially when it comes to galaxies. It'll map out millions of galaxies. So it has just recently been completed. It's in its preliminary test stages. The mirror that they use is a little over 8 meters across. It's bigger than the floor in our planetarium, just to give you an idea just how large the mirror is in that telescope. And it should send us some astonishing amounts of data. One of my class cohorts from EMU back in the early 70s is our keynote speaker at an upcoming meeting at EMU. And she was in on that class. She's now the educational outreach coordinator for the Vera Rubin or LSST telescope, as it was known when it was being built. So I'm privy to be able to know people like this and hang out and chat with them at length. So a few more pictures of Ceratololo, and then I'll show you a few shots of what we have here in Ypsilanti, or places you can visit. Mount Palomar, for example, in Southern California is a neat place to go visit, sort of a temple to the skies, if you will. Got to look through the 60-inch scope there, but it's now back to doing imaging and research instead of being looked through. But it's home to the famous 200-inch Hale telescope, which for 4 decades was the largest telescope on Earth. But if you're in southern Arizona, or central Arizona, I should say, you'll want to visit the Lowell Observatory. It is really a magical place to visit. You get to look through telescopes. You get to see the telescope that a gentleman named Clyde Tombaugh used to discover Pluto. There's a great visitor center there, telescopes that you can look through. And this is a cool place, an outdoor theater. It's basically an open planetarium. They roll off the roof, you sit and look at the real sky while people show you, give you a tour of the actual sky, not a planetarium sky. So pretty amazing. And tons of instrumentation that you can look through, get your hands on, and see the real McCoy through these. Did I say that, real McCoy? Yeah, Dr. McCoy, through the telescopes here. Mount Wilson's another place in Southern California you can go. There are places around the world that, if you do some homework, you might be able to find yourself visiting as a guest at some of these places. In the radio spectrum, the Green Bank Observatory in West Virginia is a cool place for students to visit, for visitors to see the radio part of the spectrum. So that's a cool place. And then again, here we are at Fish Lake. So we'll wrap this up with a description of what we do here. We like to bring students up here to experience the night sky, get them away from city lights because so many people live in the bright glare of the cities. It's pretty hard for people to appreciate what it means to be under a truly dark sky. And they get the gist of it here at our bioreserve away from the city lights. So we'll bring 40, 50 students up here at a time to enjoy the views. They stay overnight in the dorms for a few nights. We feed them and chat with them and bring telescopes side. And 2 days ago, 2 nights ago, I took out this particular instrument and just snapped some casual photos of the night sky. I know Barb is big into astrophotography and has taken some many beautiful pictures. And she has visited us here at the site and enjoyed these views. But here's, for example, is a picture of the North American Nebula that I took with that telescope. It just sort of a set it and forget it kind of photography of the North American Nebula, for example, big hydrogen cloud, 20-minute exposure. And by the way, I didn't do any heavy processing on these. I know Barb spends hours and hours getting all this stuff just fine-tuned, which is commendable because it is tedious. It's not easy to do, and it's sort of an artistic approach to getting exactly what you want to see. But these are just casual through the telescope views with an electronic digital imager that we can get. Here's home of the Kelvins. Take you a few years to get there, according to By Any Other Name episode. But they turned the ship around before they got too far, didn't they? But yes, indeed, the Andromeda Galaxy, beautiful galaxy. The next nearest group to our galaxy, the local group, is the Ursa Major group, 12 million light years out. M81, M82, we were looking at these this morning. Again, your homework assignment is to count the number of stars in this frame. Again, this is our own Milky Way. Every one of those is a sun, potentially with planets and so forth. One of the stars we looked at the other night was 40 Eridani, which is supposedly the home of Vulcan, which has the brightest white dwarf star involved in it. So that's pretty cool. The Pleiades, or For you Star Trek fans, isn't this where Talos 4 is located? Not quite sure how you find Talos in a young star group like that. These stars are only 100 million years old, so finding habitable planets might be difficult. The Rosette Nebula and the Orion Nebula, of course, all these were just casually shot with that camera telescope system here in the evening, just a few nights ago. And here's our little glacial lake that we have as part of the Nature Center here at Fish Lake, and you can see the fall colors are starting to change. So, a really wonderful place to bring students to hang out and learn about the night sky and a little bit more about how things go here on planet Earth. So, pretty cool. And of course, you may have seen some of the hype over a comet that is visiting our skies. I've personally seen easily 60 plus comets in my travels around the sun. And this is just another fuzz blotch. But boy, if you believe everything on the web, you'd think that the sky's on fire with these comets. And that could not be any further from the truth. This is indeed the real Comet Lemon. It's cute. It's okay. It's got a hint of a tail, but it's not the fireball that I'm seeing being portrayed on the internet these days. But one of many that visit the inner solar system. We get about 2 dozen comets every year visit the inner solar system, and many of them look like this or less, little dust bunnies that float around the sun and wander on out past Pluto again. So look quick. This guy won't be back for several thousand years, as many comets are prone to do that. So there you have it. That's our little tour of the night sky. We are, of course, here with these telescopes out under the dark skies of the thumb of Michigan, enjoying the view. And occasionally we get the aurora. So here's my info. If you got a question or two or whatever, we can answer those. Or if you want to email me or chat this or Star Trek or anything else, let me know. So how's that, Barb?
Oh, that was beautiful, Norb. All those pictures were, it makes me just physically feel good to see the night sky pictures you took down in Chile. Oh my gosh.
And you were
This,
here too. You've been here several times. Barb introduced me to the wonders of VR with the headset that she keeps putting on my head.
I keep trying to get you to buy some.
No, I know. One of these days, if I slow down enough, I'll do that. Last weekend, I was with the Great Lakes Planetarium Association. The week before that, we had Brother Guy doing a talk here, the Vatican astronomer here in Southeast Michigan, and before that, another star party. So one of these days, we'll settle down and actually get the chance to do stuff like that.
So I know that you've got to go launch rockets here, but I wanted to, I'm going to call on folks and have you just share where you're from so Norb can get a sense of the international flavor of Starfleet. I'm Barb. I live in Lansing, Michigan. Valerie, you want to go next? Can you hear me, Valerie? You're muted.
Sorry, I didn't catch you.
Can you say where you're from?
Yeah, I'm from France, from Paris, and I was just writing that I'm part of those people who can't see anything at night because it's not night here. It's always there is always light, and I always see only 2 or 3 stars. And a few days ago, and Barbara saw it on my Facebook. We had for the first time quite a night with stars, and I could see some stars, and it's amazing. It's always amazing. I'm always in awe seeing those stars here.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Sam?
Yeah, my wife Heidi and I are in Columbus, Ohio, so not too far. We were actually going, oh, we could make a trip up there.
Absolutely. Patrick, you need to unmute your mic, Patrick. Can't hear you. You're still muted.
Well, he's figuring it out. Sam, there's tons of observatories in Ohio. It's amazing how many planetariums and observatories Yeah, from Columbus up in Cleveland area or down at Cincinnati. I've got
Yeah,
lots of friends there.
yeah, we just moved here and I just joined the local astronomy group and they are so active. I'm really looking forward to getting to attend several of their activities.
Yeah, you have the Perkins Observatory just north of Columbus there.
That's
Neat.
cool. Patrick is still muted, but I believe Patrick, you're also from Ohio, right, Patrick? Oh, there he is. Go ahead, Patrick. We can hear you now, I think. Oh, no, we can't.
Hmm.
We're having some problem with your microphone, but go ahead and,
Call Lieutenant O'Hara in.
yeah, go ahead and type it in the chat. Janet?
Rome, Texas, which is maybe 15, 20 miles north of Fort Worth.
Wow.
Thank you. Eric?
I'm about 20 miles north of Indianapolis, Indiana.
You got Ball State University and some of those places down there. Of course, Indiana
Yep.
University, their observatories.
IU and Purdue, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Brad?
Brad McRoberts. I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Awesome. Eric? Johansson?
Oh, so Eric Johansson, obviously, Southampton, Ontario. So right near the Saugeen River and Lake Huron.
Hmm.
Awesome.
You can see the moon on my quarter-inch telescope there,
Yeah.
otherwise known as my cell phone.
And I got a message from Patrick. He's from Tiffin, Ohio, Northwest
Oh, yeah.
Ohio.
Yeah, good stuff there.
Rip, are you able to talk or do you want me to say where you're from? She's at robotics right now.
Hmm.
And she said machines are going. Type in where you're from, Rip, because I cannot think of where you're from in this moment. Oh my gosh. You know my brain. While she's typing, let's jump over to, Rip's in Garner, North Carolina. Thanks. Sarah?
I'm in Havelock, North Carolina, less than a quarter mile from Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point. My backyard is too much light, but I'll go on base, and there's a lot of places on base I can get a really nice view of the night sky. I'm not brave enough to bring my camera out there to take pictures of the sky on the airbase. Doesn't seem like a good idea.
Yeah, that might be a problem.
Barb and I know Megan Dubé, who's doing her PhD work at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Moorhead Planetarium is a great place to visit, and UNC does a lot of good astronomy stuff. They got a nice program in astronomy there.
And Gabor, want to give it a try? See if we can get him to unmute. I know he posted here that he's Budapest, Hungary is where Gabor is from. There he is.
Üdvözlök mindenkit, nem tudom mennyire jó a fordító.
I don't have my translator on, Gabor, sorry.
Hmm.
And my universal translator is at the shop.
Yeah, my dearest friend Emery, who I've been friends with for life, grew up in Yugoslavia in Novi Sad, not far from the Hungarian border, and speaks fluent Hungarian. I
Oh,
wish you were here to chat with Gabor.
yeah. Gabor does some amazing photography too.
I can imagine.
Yeah, thank you, Gabor. All right, so does anybody have any questions for Norb before we release him to his rocketry? Do you know artist
I
Harold?
do know artist Harold very well. I will be working with her at a workshop here for teachers on Saturday for the Vera Rubin telescope. How is it you know artists? Yeah. I'll add too that Barb is keenly aware that I have an original Star Trek Enterprise model, the AMT model, and the the Klingon D7 battle cruiser, etc., from back in the day when I was a young teen. And they still exist today. They somehow magically survived all these decades,
That's
among all
amazing.
the other stuff. I used to draw planets, imaginary planets of whatever Star Trek, and it caused me to imagine what planets might be orbiting some of these stars I was looking at.
So, Barb, I can talk a minute. The machine
Okay.
stopped. I know artists because I worked with her with the Vera Rubin, and she's the one who got me into testing the lessons. And she
Great.
works with me on the National Earth Science Teachers Association.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I'll be seeing her on Saturday. I can tell her hello.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes.
Sarah, you wanted to say something?
Oh, I was just saying I don't have a question, but I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us and those gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous photos. They're so cool.
Well, thank
And,
you.
and Barb's right. I get like a visceral, like I don't know. I get like a feeling when I see photos like that. It's so cool.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you'll experience the southern sky if you haven't already. You'll trust me, you'll feel like you're on another planet, like you're on Vulcan or something, because stars are all messed up. There's some beautiful constellations in the southern hemisphere, but thank you again.
Anybody else have a question before we let him release him? Eric?
Yeah. So how many years do you think it'll be before we can, sorry, my brain is a little fuzzy today. I just had 5 hours sleep because of work.
Sounds like me. I'm
Yeah.
working on about 5 hours sleep.
So looking at the Milky Way, it's like trying to read a book by seeing the edge of the page, right?
Yes, yes. Good point. Yes.
How long do you think it'll be before we can get something above and below the plane?
Well, again, with relativistics, unfortunately, with warp drive being sort of more fantasy than anything, it'll be a long time before we can get views like that. And certainly not at the pace we're going now. We can't even get to the moon again, let alone Mars. So we'll see comes of the future here. Never say never, in
Yeah.
science, but we'll see what
I
happens.
own some land on the moon, so I'm all set there. 1 acre.
Ah,
So what's the other one? Oh no, you had
so
it and
do you
lost it.
belong to the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada by chance?
No,
I,
no.
I
The
love how
only thing
prim and proper they are.
the only thing I remember of is besides Starfleet International, the United States Naval Institute.
Ah, yeah.
So what do you think of Space Engine?
What do I think of what now?
It's a program called Space Engine.
I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with it.
Okay.
Hmm.
It sort of
I
allows you to move freely through space. It's possibly the best one I've seen
Okay.
For astronomy. So No Man's Sky doesn't really do that.
Oh, I see. Oh, you mean the software
Yeah,
aspects? Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, yeah. I haven't used it much because I'm sort of locked into what we use in our facility, which is a variation of Stellarium, which is a program you can get for free off the internet. But yeah, there's some new stuff. Open Space is another one that's come online here recently, and boy, my brain, look at the color of my hair. Do I look like a person that experiments with all that stuff? I mean, I guess I should. I turn it over to my students who are quite prolific in that kind of exploration. Pretty cool. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, and Gabor sent a message that he's an amateur astrophotographer and he's mapped the moon and he's managed to take 2 mobile photos and he's posted a photo of
Yeah,
the moon there that he took.
I saw that.
2 mobile photos of the Milky Way and the Pleiades.
Again, with digital imaging and enhancement, as you know, Barb, are really revolutionizing the details we can get.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Any other
Amateurs are taking
questions?
pictures the professionals dreamed of only 2 decades ago.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you so much, Norb, for joining us today and stepping out of your star party.
Yep.
I hope you did get some breakfast this morning.
I did. I
Okay.
wolted down before getting to the microphone here, but thanks for inviting me, Barb, and
Oh,
nice meeting folks and chatting with folks.
absolutely. Just a reminder for everybody, our next Cell Speaker Series will be coming up the third Saturday of next month. I didn't write the date down, but Tyler Bassett, who's a botanist and ecologist, we're going to come back to Earth next month. He's going to do a talk about rare species, and he's a really amazing speaker. He's very funny. I think you'll also enjoy him as well. So don't don't forget to sign up for that. Thank you everybody for attending today. And with that, have fun with your rocket launch or rockets launches, Norb. And say hi to everybody for me at the party.
I'm sure they'll be happy to hear from you. There was one comment about Stellarium, and just go to stellarium.org and you
Mm-hmm.
can download that software for free.
Yeah, it's great. And it's really fun to use on VR goggles.
Oh yeah, that's right.
All right, everybody.
I promise I'll get a set one of these days.
All right. I'll bring them next time I come up.
Okay.
All right, everybody, have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next month. Live long and prosper.
Au revoir.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.